Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the KFS pregame show. My name is Andrew. His name is XJ. I guess his name is XJ, and his name is Mensa. And we are here to preview the Knicks' upcoming matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's right. Donovan Mitchell is coming to New York to play on the road against the Knicks at Madison Square Garden. The Knicks come into today's game at 10-13, 11th place in the Eastern Conference. They are on a 5-game losing streak at Madison Square Garden, a place they've also lost 6 of their last 7 or 7 of their last 8 home games, and are 4-7 on at the Garden this season. Should be obvious where the conversation is going to go today. I don't think there's even much belaboring the point. Tom Thibodeau's job seems to be very much up in jeopardy, if not on the line tonight, and then potentially Wednesday against the Hawks. Sports are stupid anyway, so we should talk about something we actually enjoy. Like I saw that the Santa's John Wick movie. I saw it on the other night. It was fine, you know. I'm figuring out how to preview this, guys, because I feel like I've been the one that's been pushing back a lot against this coach talk that has happened on the show. I've heard every complaint this year, not just from here, but the ones that then get relayed to me in comments. And it's like every single hive has contributed to the conversation. The play Derrick Rose more hive, the play Derrick Rose less hive, the play Cam hive. Good Lord. He's a star. He's him. The Cam Reddish is a role player, should be benched for not Jericho Sims, for Quentin Grimes in important minutes. The RJ, the Julius, the Mitchell Robinson hive, all of the above, I've heard it. And I think it just kind of comes down to they're 10-13. And yesterday was embarrassing against the Dallas Mavericks, especially that third quarter. XJ, if you were to... I don't even know how to react/preview this game. It's like very simple. If the Knicks get embarrassed today, there's a very good chance, I think, that the Knicks are going to have a new head coach tomorrow, or at least by next game.
Yeah, I mean, I would absolutely agree with that. I think it's tough because I think independent of all the criticisms that a lot of us have had of Tibbs, whether that's minutes, rotations, the way he's deploying specific lineups, I think where he's going to lose his job thing comes down to is the defensive end.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just what it comes down to. People who've watched the pregame show know that I've been critical of his defensive scheme all season. I don't think this pack the paint and live with the threes defense works in the modern NBA. I've mentioned this before. The Bucks played a similar, if not the same exact defensive style last year. They gave up the all-time NBA record for threes per game, 40.6, I think it was last year. And they were a middle-of-the-pack defense with a team that includes 3 all-NBA defense players, right? Giannis, Drew, and Brook Lopez. They completely went away from that scheme this year, and now they give up the 5th fewest threes in the NBA at 31.6 per game and are a top 3 defensive team in the league. Like, I don't think that scheme works. You can't make it work with, like, tremendously elite defensive players. You're not going to make it work with Julius Randle and the crew, right?
Mm-hmm.
One thing I wanted to say was that I actually read an article from 2012 on Tibbs' Chicago Bulls defense. And I just want to read a quote from that article real quick. The writer was talking about the defensive scheme, and he said, "What holds it all together, what drives the whole operation is Thibodeau's relentless passion and intensity, along with his ability to evoke those intangible qualities from his players within the team concept. Nonetheless, the strength of Thibodeau's teams ultimately derives from his knack for getting guys to leave it all out on the floor every single night." And I think this clearly does not exist here for Tibbs in terms of on the defensive end. And in spite of all of our criticisms, this is the point that even the biggest Tibbs advocates can't defend against. If he can't get guys to play hard on the defensive end, if guys are not flying out to close out, making second and third efforts, he just doesn't have a place. Like, I don't see it. And I agree if the Knicks get blown out or lose in some embarrassing, messy way today, I think this is the end of the road.
Mensa, you've been equally as vocal about your criticisms of Tom Thibodeau. We'll call it that. Your thoughts going into this game, which could be the beginning of the end of the Thibodeau era in New York.
Um, the where I stand is really that I believe Tom Thibodeau is a symptom of a larger disease. If we're like, when I really think about the New York Knicks and how Tom Thibodeau coaches to win every game, I don't necessarily agree because some of the decisions don't say he wants to win. Same thing with the Knicks. The Knicks want to win every trade and they want to utilize every roster spot for a good basketball player. But is there cohesion night to night in terms of our process on how we can build a winning, like, I guess, culture, a winning defense, a winning offense? Are we doing things night to night with the rotation, with the offensive game plan, the defensive game plan that lead to long-term health? Are we doing the right things with the roster that lead to long-term cohesion and a culture of sustainability? This team has spoken pretty much since Leon Rose has gotten in the door about this family atmosphere and wanting everything to be together. And I bought into that for like 12 to 18 months. But now where I am with them now is just, of course, the guys don't want to play hard. Like Macri said it on the post game. Of course they don't. Like, it's hard to motivate guys when every single one of them knows they can be traded tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, it's difficult. And yeah, it's the coach's job to, like, okay, yeah, the scheme works when you have Emmanuel Quickly and this guy and that guy. The scheme works, but the coach's job is to get all the players to buy in, not just the ones on the bench, right? So if Tom Thibodeau gets fired, I'll be happy with. Happy is a strong word. I never want to see anybody get fired. I will be okay with it, but I won't be content. I will not believe that the Knicks' problems will automatically be solved with the firing of Tom Thibodeau, because that's not going to make Julius Randle not believe that he's the man. That's not going to, and this is a conversation that I guess it's going to spill over into like what the franchise's like actual goals and ambitions are. But everybody on this roster can look at themselves and say, I've been hedged against, unless your name is Jalen Brunson or Quentin Grimes. Every single person on the roster, including Tom Thibodeau. When Tom Thibodeau got hired, they hedged the bet with the Johnny Bryant. They hedged Julius Randle. The bet was hedged with Obi Toppin, right? Mitchell Robinson, the other guys on the, you pick a center.
Yeah.
The bet was hedged against him, right? So it's hard for guys to consistently be motivated every day and come to work when the coach can say, I believe in you, but what's the proof? Like, where's the proof that anybody has anyone's confidence in that building or when it comes to the roster? So Tom Thibodeau's hands were tied. Could he have done different things? Of course, he could have done different things, but he needs to go, in my opinion, and so does the front office. And that's just that's just like step one of maybe 3 steps before I'm satisfied. And we can actually hire some basketball guys that make good basketball decisions and build cohesive rosters and empower the players on their roster.
I think that's really well said by both of you. I think for my thoughts, I'm going to preview the Cavs real quick and just put their graphic up, because the Cavs with Donovan Mitchell and obviously with the roster that they have set up, and they were like more prepared to make a trade that they did. They're 15-8, they're third in the Eastern Conference. They're not as good on the road. They're a tremendous home team. They're 10-2 at home. I don't think that matters coming into this game, especially with what they do well. They're top 5 in defensive rating, net rating, defensive rebounding, rebound percentage, and the kicker here, they are top 3 in 3-point percentage this season. The only thing they don't do well is their assist to turnover ratio isn't great. And they don't get a ton of steals, but that still doesn't stop them from preventing points from being scored. Donovan Mitchell is having an all-NBA season. The number at the bottom there, 7.7 BPM. Box plus minus has become my new favorite stat because it like matches the eye test as best as possible. For me, a 7.7 BPM is insane, especially for 23 games into the season. But he's been great across the board. He's a 50-40-90 candidate. He's shooting 43.5% on 9.1 3-point attempts. He's been amazing this year. And I'm, spoiler alert for my betting and sweating pick, I'm pretty sure I'm taking a Donovan Mitchell over. I say this because to preview this game and knowing we would be talking about Tibbs, I decided to finally do a Knicks one. So let's look at what the Knicks are this year. They're 10-13, 11th in the East, 4-7 at home, 1-4 in their last 5. What they do well, they don't turn the ball over a lot. They do get a ton of offensive rebounds because they have every center known to man and they pack the paint. When teams do miss, they get the rebound, just they don't miss a ton of times this season, at least not from 3-point land. And like their opponent field goal percentage isn't great because they're all taking longer threes, which they're like we talk about the 3-pointers. To XJ's point, the Knicks give up a ton of threes. They're 15th in 3-point percentage against. So they're not converting on it, but you still, the volume of threes offsets any success that you are of getting teams to miss a ton of threes because they're giving up the most 3-pointers both attempted and made in a game this season. And that is where the bottom 5. And I say all of this because you look at this chart, and this closely matches the Detroit Pistons when we put them up. That there's a few top 5s, and then there's a lot of bottom 5s here. Being bottom 5 in defensive rating and net rating, or I guess bottom 6 in defensive rating and net rating, that puts you down at the bottom with all the tankers. And by the way, I only put Julius Randle's numbers up there because A, they are technically better than last year, and B, just in case there's an opposing general manager watching. Look at those numbers. Look how amazing those numbers look. Those would look great in your starting 5. I say all of this because you read the report, or you I guess hear the report from Ian Bagley that like this team isn't going to tank. And yet, even the 10-13 record can be a little misleading because they're bottom 5 in net rating. They're bottom 5 in defensive rating. And it's why, like, I'm prepared to come in here today and say the coach needs to go. Like, you can't have a Tom Thibodeau coach team be bottom 5 in net rating and just be like, okay, that's okay. Because, like, the way I was always able to defend him or any idea of him still being the coach was like, well, look what they were when they made the adjustment with Kemba going home last year. They were the best defensive rating in the league after the All-Star break. Like, there is a clear top 5 thing they're good at. If they get this, that's why I was optimistic with my prediction for them this year. I thought Jalen Brunson coming in here would be the uptick in offense that they needed. And granted, they're a top 12 offense so far this year. I don't think they're going to buy into this coach the rest of the season. I think this will only get worse if he continues to be the head coach. And I also think because they're going to refuse to tank, this needs to be the beginning of the end of this plan. Like, I've been under the weather the past couple of days, and so like the only thing I was really able to muster outside of being depressed about my baseball team and depressed about my football team is a text to John after yesterday's Jets Mets sadness, according to Mensa. The only thing I was able to muster was like I texted John after the post game yesterday, just like this whole thing looked broken. The whole thing looks broken, and as much as I give him credit this year for actually adjusting, like Evan Fournier is on the bench. I've seen multiple different versions of the starting 5, so many different lineup combinations. We're at 75 Obi Randle minutes. Like, he is trying new things. But one of the things I was also able to do this weekend is watch teams like the Celtics and the Warriors and watch these other teams that switch a bunch and they have all of these wings and they utilize them correctly. And then I'm watching the Knicks leave that weak side corner open every time. And I'm done with the drop coverage. I'm done with a scheme that, as XJ said, you believe in when you first get to it. And now there's no pivot once it stops working. I'm tired of teams shooting 25 of 60 from 3. I'm tired of getting booed off, watching this team get booed off their home floor. So I'm not saying it's all on Tibbs. I'm with Mensa on this, but I would welcome just a new look and a new direction and see what Johnny Bryant can do. And I'm also with Mensa. The magnifying glass can then be pointed where it has needed to this whole time. And it's the plan that this front office has set out. And maybe they'll accidentally tank their way into a top 7 pick, but they're going to try and win every game the rest of the year. And it's why, XG, I'll go to you with this. What's the panic trade that you're afraid of? Because I have mine. What's the panic trade that this team could make, this front office, after they fire the coach, could make? Because coincidentally, this firing might come right when this deadline or this opening of players on December 15th that you can now trade that got extensions this summer. You can, or got new contracts this summer. Who's the trade? Who's the panic trade the Knicks could make that gets rid of so many assets to save their jobs that you're afraid that they're going to make?
Yeah, I think that was all well said, AC. I just want to say welcome to the anti this defensive scheme club that I've been trying to lead for a while. The panic trade. Honestly, I think I could imagine the coach getting fired and then wanting to go in an entirely different direction from this protected paint, have a rim protecting big on the court at all times. And what's the complete opposite of a rim protecting big? It is Cat.
Oh God! Please don't bail out Minnesota. Please don't bail out Minnesota.
I think Minnesota may be ready to, take back less than stellar assets for Cat potentially. I could imagine them feeling like that, and so I can imagine the front office feeling like they can get Cat at value potentially. I think Towns is a top 10 offensive player in the NBA, and I think he has been for a while. It could be the last 5 years even he has been in that realm, but the defense is so bad. It's so bad. And I think that if they're going to make a panic trade, I think that's what it would be. I don't think they're going to make a panic trade personally. I don't think they're going to do it. I think that they're definitely at this urgent period of the season and of their tenure in this front office, but I don't think that's the way it's going to go. I think if they did make one, it would probably be Towns. I obviously hope it doesn't happen. I actually like Towns. I think I'm higher on Towns than a lot of other people just because his offense is so elite. It's so elite. It's like unbelievable. And as his creation is really underrated as a passer. Obviously everyone knows about his shooting, but he's just so good offensively, but the defense is so bad. And we don't even need more offense at this point. We need some semblance of a defense. So hopefully it doesn't happen. I think if it did, that'd be the one.
The problem I would have with the Towns trade is Randall's not going out in it, because putting him next to Randall, next to Brunson, and I'm imagining RJ's gone in that deal, but it's even more bad defense on the floor with another high usage guy. So it just becomes that instead of RJ being the third most shots, one of the other two guys is the third fewest shots. Like, I don't know.
Imagine that defense that you just laid out.
Oh, yeah.
With Brunson, Randall, Towns.
It would get worse, is my point, which I didn't think it could, but it would get worse. Mensa, what's yours? I should have told you guys I should have prepared you guys for this, by the way. I just didn't know if you had like a trade that you're afraid of them making. You're
yeah. I don't think there's a panic trade that's going to bail this front office out. That's the first thing. But if I had to, I guess, say that one trade, I think the Knicks would panic and move real assets for Bojan Bogdanovic. I don't know who's going out in the trade, but I do think that a Knicks team that can't shoot the ball will see a guy in Bogey who's playing excellent on a rudderless Pistons team that's trying to, tank and get Wembanyama. I think that's something that the Knicks would try, and nobody who would want Bojan Bogdanovic can out asset the Knicks in this scenario. Like, I'm sure the Pistons will take all the fake picks for a guy like Bojan Bogdanovic who doesn't, fit what they're doing. Other than that, I can think of like the DeAndre Ayton trade that I think Chris Persianen has suggested, with Ayton coming back, Randall going out, and Mitchell Robinson. That would make me very happy. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that seeing Julius Randle go out in any trade would not make me extremely happy. But I just can't see. I think the way the roster is constructed, there's no real way for this team to bail itself out and get a guy this season specifically without having to tear the roster down. I think what would more likely save the New York Knicks would be this offseason trading away a guy like Jalen Brunson for real assets than the other, which I know would never happen. But I think like tearing the entire thing down to the nubs and rebuilding it would be way more beneficial than trying to see if the Randall Brunson Barrett combination is going to work with another guy. Like, you have to get rid of one of them. And honestly, for getting rid of one, you probably need to get rid of two. So I don't see any trade that the Knicks can make that could panic and save their job. There's nothing, like, there are no tea leaves that I can feel like there's, able to read or anything. The SGA trade is not happening. That guy is way too good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's nothing. I can't. I just like there. And this is something that I love. I love fake trades, but there's no like realistic fake trade that I
I
can
got
even
one.
give myself, hope about.
So where I'll put. So I hate tanking. Don't get me wrong. Like I understand the math behind it. It's what it does to people when they watch sports that I hate more than anything else. Um, what I'll push back with, Mensa, they're not tanking. There's no version of this team that tears it down.
Absolutely,
Potentially,
absolutely.
rightfully so. Like trading Randall, it would be the right course of action. But it's not like for DeAndre Ayton, so he could just help them win more games. It would be um so like what I'm saying, if you were going to rebuild, it would be for the Crowder deal, and then all those guys get bought out and don't play, and you're watching Obi play the rest of the year. Like if they're gonna make a trade, it's gonna be so they can make sure they go as hard as they can after that 7-10 spot in the Eastern Conference, which is why um I actually mentioned this before the season, so I'm proud of this. I was down on the Bulls because I thought they would end up being, with the fact that their pick is top 5 protected. If things went wrong and they had a negative net rating again, and they're lower than the Knicks in the standings right now, they might blow it up and they'd be the team that takes advantage of the Russ and 2 picks trade. And it's DeRozan, like it's been talked about, DeRozan and Vucevic for Russ and 2 picks. So they'll go to the Lakers. And that leaves Zach LaVine. And that would be the panic trade because he slots right in as a wing. He'd play next to RJ. That is a lot of money that you're putting with a guy with that type of knee injury. And look, I was kind of in on Zach LaVine until I started doing some research for the All-Star game. And then the numbers are so bad this season. And like, I'm not even saying they can't get better. I watched Julius Randle's numbers get better, but I think that's what the exact example of a panic trade that only raises your ceiling to like the 7 seed and doesn't give your floor enough room to, if you do want to blow it up and play for development the rest of the year, like all he's going to do is block Cam Reddish, block whoever else is ahead of him in the rotation. We're going to be sitting here upset that Quickly's not playing again. Like it's just going to be the same old stuff, which is why I think that is a perfect example of a panic trade. And I'm terrified that they do it. Mensa, what do you think?
I did see a report like today, that said that the Bulls see LaVine and DeRozan as untouchable, which made me laugh like really, really hard.
That's them saying bring the price up. Like the price of the brick just went up. Like that's what they're saying.
Because
what they're saying.
like really, are you sure those guys are untouchable? Yeah. So I think that the Knicks, and this is the reason why I don't see a panic trade coming. The Knicks have this propensity to want to win every single trade. And if the Bulls are already talking about raising the price on these guys, I can't see Brock Aller being able to stomach trading out 2 unprotected firsts for a guy like Zach LaVine, which is what the price is going to be if Donovan Mitchell is going for 8,000 picks and Rudy Gobert is going for 7,000 picks. They can get 2 unprotected first-round picks from a team for Zach LaVine. So I just don't see the Knicks being willing to pay that price.
But that's the definition of panic, though. Like they're willing to pay that price
if
they know like those picks won't matter if they don't have jobs,
The reason I was going to say I don't know if it would fully qualify as a panic trade to me is because it really would depend on what goes out. I don't know that Zach LaVine is commanding that kind of return at this point. Like he's having a really bad season. The worst since he's been healthy, returning from his knee injury. His shooting is really down from all levels. So it would, to me, depend on who's going out in that deal, because if you can get him at plus value, I would potentially consider it, but that would be tough. Like if you guys think they're going to be using the Mitchell and Gobert trades as kind of the barometer for what you're getting back for LaVine, then yeah, it's ridiculous. But I think if you can get him at a discount, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, just because I think he's going to get better again. He's not going to be this guy moving forward.
But how much better?
Go ahead.
How much better does LaVine have to get to justify that $200+ million contract he just signed?
Yeah, with that
Well,
knee too.
how he played the last 2 years, basically. Levine was excellent the last 2 years. I think underrated potentially, especially offensively. In 2021, he was probably like a top 10 to 15 offensive player in the NBA. So, I mean, I don't know if that is a sustainable peak for him to reach, but I wouldn't do too unprotected first for him. I'll say that.
It's less about performance for me. It's the knee. Like I don't trust that knee on that type of money those many years. The Bulls had to do it because he's your asset. It's a similar with Mitchell Robinson. You extend your own assets, but like Mensa, to your point, like I don't see. It's why the panic of it all is like if you're giving up quickly in that deal, and you're giving up, like if that's the only young player that goes, it's not completely terrible, but like if you're giving it quickly and a bunch of picks, it's like, so what are we doing here? Like we're like, you might as well just go trade for AD, who's on a shorter contract at that point, and hopefully that means Randall goes out the door in that type of trade. Look, it's Jeremy is about to ramp up for the next like month or so because we're bringing back some things for him to do to answer all the the trade conversation questions. I think going into this, and it's important to talk about this around Donovan Mitchell, is the Knicks could have gone all in for Donovan Mitchell, wanted to go all in. They thought they had the leverage to go all in for Donovan Mitchell, and the Cavs surprised them. And now, like, I'm not saying the Knicks would be 15-8 and third in the East. I know they wouldn't be 11th right now. I think there's like 6 more wins I could count on their schedule. Also, maybe I am saying they'd be like 15 and they'd be like 16 and 9 at this point. I guess 16 and 7 at this point. Yeah, I have a lot of questions about this front office and what the plan is now. And yesterday kind of crystallized. And the Mavericks came in 1-8 on the road. Tim Hardaway Jr. was shooting 31% from 3. He had 2 games that he like were 2 good 3-point shooting games, but like rewatching that third quarter last night, and like, yes, some of it was scheme, like leaving guys open. Some of it was just playing drop coverage against Tim Hardaway Jr. and Luka, you know, and the extra pass is like the assists that the Knicks are allowing this season. I think they're second to last this season in the opponent's assists. It's because there's always making the extra pass to the wide open teammate, you know? Yeah, I'm at a loss, and it's why I'm fully expecting the Knicks to win by 20 tonight and completely go back against everything we've been talking about on this pregame show, because that's how this team has gone for the past. Every time I've thought, okay, this is where it's a downward spiral to go off the rails completely. Nope. Okay. They're going to now win like 6 in a row.
No, they do whatever's worse for like the future of the franchise.
Yep.
So if losing now would be better, get Tibbs out of the way, start the clock on the front office, like move in a different direction, potentially come with a turning point, then they're gonna win.
Yeah, it's a double-digit win. They're laughing at Donovan Mitchell, if anything. So we'll see. I think it's a good time to go to betting and sweating and talk about the Cavaliers. And as a result, we're gonna say a shout out to our friends over at WynnBet. Download the WynnBet app now, or visit www.wynnbet.com to start winning. Sign up today to receive a special offer. You bet $100, you win $100. That's bet 100, win 100 at wynnbet.com. Download, bet, win. Okay, so I'm just gonna. I have to do this thing professionally. So let me share the screen so you guys can see what WynnBet's up to today. The Knicks come into this game at plus 2.5 underdogs. That's a spread for today. It's plus 120 on the money line, and it's 223 exactly for the game. I'm going to make my pick first. It is very simple. I'm going Donovan Mitchell over 25.5 points. It's minus 130. I would bet a couple of units on this with the team, especially with the way the Knicks looked yesterday. So I'd take all the Cavs props if I were you, especially like that money line. Now that I'm looking at it, it's actually decent odds, minus 142 for a Cavs team coming into this game. So we'll see. I just realized the screen hasn't shared. There you go. I am taking Cavs I'm taking the over on Donovan Mitchell points today of 25.5. XJ, let's go with you. What's your betting and sweating pick for today?
Yeah, 25.5 is wild for Mitchell.
Yep.
That's super low.
Yes.
That's a steal.
I was wondering what's happening.
What's
is
happening?
He out?
Yeah.
Is was he missing yesterday? Is he depressed from Jacob deGrom leaving? Like what happened?
Very confusing.
That
I don't know.
His numbers this low. He's averaging 29 a game. So against the Knicks, the 5th worst defense in the league, he's gonna average less than his career average. Got it.
Strange, very strange. But
yes.
I think that's a great pick. For me, so to supplement some of the stats that you were giving earlier, Andrew, so Cleveland's actually number 1 in the NBA in adjusted defensive rating, which accounts for the strength of opposing offenses. So, and they're actually overall number 2 in adjusted net rating. So they're even better than I think the stats seem to show from a defensive offensive rating perspective. Donovan's been a top 5 offensive player in the NBA this year. Garland probably top 20 or so. So obviously everything runs through them. Cleveland's the premier pick and roll team in the NBA, actually, surpassing the Hawks and Trae Young. They run pick and rolls with both Donovan and Garland constantly. So I'm expecting them to actually really exploit Julius directly and just put him in pick and rolls like 100 times this game with K-Love and whoever else he's guarding. But all of that being said, kind of what we were just talking about, I think if the Knicks don't come out playing hard in this game and they just throw in the towel and just let Tibbs go away, I just think there's some guys on this team who won't do that. And Brunson being one of them. And so I was thinking of doing a Brunson prop just because I think he's going to come out like a man possessed. No, we're not going out like that. This is not going to happen. But I think I would rather kind of spread it out a little bit and just take the Knicks as a team to kind of show some resilience. And I'm thinking Knicks first quarter money line. I think coming out right away, first quarter, they're going to play extremely hard.
Wow.
They're going to put up their last ditch effort to save Tibbs' job. I think Brunson has made some really positive comments about Tibbs. And I think these guys are going to be playing really motivated. And if they don't manage to win this first quarter, it's all over. So I'm just going to put it on that. Knicks money line. I like that at +1.
Knicks first quarter. That's a great pick there, XJ. Well done. All right, Mensa. I need someone to cheer me up. So give me a good pick tonight.
I was not your guy for that.
Yeah, I
know. I was gonna go to Old Faithful for me, which is first half spread. I cannot believe when I saw it,
bro.
The Cavaliers. I'm like 1.5 for the Cavs. Are we talking about the same team here? So that was my pick, but let's look at some player props. Can we look at let's look at 3-pointers made. I think they should have for Quentin Grimes, because I don't believe that Garland and Mitchell are not good defenders. And I think we can get 2. Oh, wow. Is that 2 threes for Quentin Grimes? Is what?
-105.
Yeah, sold. Okay.
Sold. Okay. Okay. There you go.
Okay, that's where we're going for me today. Because I don't want to go against what XJ is picking. Because my pick was originally going to be Cavaliers first half spread. But if the Knicks are going to win the first quarter, then let's not clash. That's a little weird.
I dig it. Sean has not texted me his pick. So what we're gonna do is give him the it's already changed. The Cavaliers first half. Oh, it's -1.5. There you go.
The spread, right? That's crazy.
That's crazy. All right,
to be up by 2.
We're giving Sean that. Okay, I dig it. So our picks for today: Donovan Mitchell over 25.5 points. The Knicks first quarter money line, which I believe is the only plus odds, the only underdog odds for today. Quentin Grimes, 2 plus 3-pointers, and the Cavaliers, first half point spread -1.5.
I can't believe you took that clash after what Mensa just said, but yeah, it's totally fair though.
It makes. Oh wait, so we can't go 4-0. That's right.
We could.
It would just
be
like threading the needle,
then,
the Knicks would win the first quarter and then wet the bed in the second quarter.
But this would actually be the perfect way for Tibbs to go out. He's had a strong start. The bench comes in at the end of the first quarter, builds a big lead in the second, and then he brings all the starters back in the template of his coaching rotation, and the Knicks are losing at halftime. I feel like I've watched that game entirely too many times over the last year and a half. And, like, to be clear, I've been, for at least this pregame show, a bit of a defender for Tom Thibodeau. I think that this team was destined to be, like, again, a Pythagorean. They're 10-13. They're expected to be 10-13. They're 10-13. The way this gets better, though, as you pointed out, XJ, is the defense has to get so much better. And my thought was, like, let me see 10 games of Grimes and Mitch in the starting five, and them playing more minutes, and the defense as it starts to creep up. Yesterday was the first time I was like, this isn't going to get better. Like, this is a broken thing. Like, and like what that's done, putting Grimes in his role, putting Mitch in this new role, they've like completely lost Cam and all the progress. Like, he did everything to get that starting spot. Now he's playing 9 minutes this game. They've completely lost Hartenstein, who's playing like 13 minutes a game. Derrick Rose as kind of like not someone like that probably needs to get into some kind of rhythm. And it's all a matter of circumstance, but in his effort to try and fix things towards winning, he's affecting the effort and determination levels of this team. So I don't know. Potentially the final the final betting and sweating. I almost went posting and toasting on that. Shout out to them. The final betting and sweating, potentially, of the Tom Thibodeau era. Shout out to our friends over at WynnBet. Download the WynnBet app now or visit www.wynnbet.com to start winning. Sign up today to receive a special offer. Bet $100, you win $100. That's bet 100, win 100 at wynnbet.com. Download, bet, win. Fellas, how we feeling?
I'm all right, bro.
You're good? Okay, good.
Jets kind of have a quarterback. I'm not too sure because, small sample size theater. The Mets have money to spend, and the Knicks are not that great. But I can't say that any of this is truly disappointing because you kind of saw it coming. You hoped against it. You hope against hope, but
I have no idea which one you're referring to. You said kind of saw it coming. So the Jets losing today, the Mets losing to Grom, Tibbs getting fired in the season.
Yeah, like
going off the rail, the Rangers being like a blowout candidate every night.
I don't know about
sports are stupid.
I can't talk about the
Rangers. Okay, but I'll tell you, their sports are stupid.
But I think as New York sports fans, we know how stupid sports can get, and when the Knicks get stupid, you kind of just roll with it and hope that the next reset is the right reset. And I hate to say that in the middle of, at the end of a coaching tenure and like I guess we're getting near like the final like acts of the Leon Rose era. But we just kind of have to be resilient and enjoy the moments while we have them. And hey, if Julius Randle and RJ Barrett decide that they want to combine for 80 points tonight and Jalen Brunson wants to do fancy things, cool, I'll enjoy that too. But we're kind of delaying the inevitable, and the team is going to be doing, I should say the players are probably going to try to do what the front office has been doing for 3 years, which is kick the can down the road. And they can continue to try to kick that can down the road, but at some point somebody's going to pick that can up and somebody has to pay the ticket for littering. So let's just see where this goes. I'll try my best to enjoy tonight. And we'll continue to talk Knicks basketball. But if Tom Thibodeau is done tonight, cool, I guess. doesn't solve all of our problems.
I'll just say this: I'm really glad that's the take, and it's not like good. Like now we can start whatever. Like no, this team's problems don't go away if the coach changes.
Now Julius Randle will live in the pick and roll. Like, come on,
right? Yeah, like they're gonna switch everything now. We're gonna see Obi play 25 minutes. Look, no, like the roster is what it is. They're ironically, I'm saying all of this, and I don't think necessarily they should have significantly more wins than they should now. I think there's an argument for 11 or 12. Which, what's that doing? It's not. I don't think that's like a difference in ceiling as a result. I just think, like, what we've said XJ, is like the reason that Alec Burks was so frustrating of a decision last year has nothing to do with his performance. That lineup
Precisely.
was a positive for the year. Who cares? Like,
Mhm.
what the goal should have been was, let's see if Quickly can play point guard. Let's see what Obi looks like. Let's figure out what you have in these guys, especially if you were trying to ship them off for Jaden Ivey or Donovan Mitchell this summer.
Absolutely.
So that's
So-
more the conversation it now needs to be.
And that's why, to me, I think the impact of Tibbs losing his job, if that so occurs, is actually understated. So I disagree with you, Andrew. I don't think it's not a big deal if he goes. Like, the team's still what the team is. As far as wins and losses, yeah, I don't think they're gonna now they're gonna
That's
win
what I mean,
10
though.
more games than they would have if he stayed.
Right, but
Yeah.
that's what I mean is what I'm saying. Like, I don't think the direction toward wins and losses. If you're saying like this starts the clock, then we're in full agreement on that.
I'm saying this starts the clock on the front office, and I also think we are going to see more experimental lineups. We're gonna see different combinations. We're gonna see more minutes from Quickly and Obi. I think we're gonna see those things.
You really think we'll see that?
We're gonna see different types of. I absolutely do. Yeah, I think there's no chance another coach comes in, whether it's Johnny Bryan or someone else, and plays things and runs things exactly the way that Tibbs did. I think there's almost no chance that happens.
Offensively.
Offensively. We'll definitely see a different defensive scheme for sure. Like, they're not going to play the same defense.
But that's
no
what
one who
I'm
comes in
saying.
is
Like,
running that way.
defensively, they'd have to change the scheme.
But I also think we're going to see different lineups, different minutes allocations. I think those things are going to change, and I think I have that optimism of seeing that potentially happening. And so, to me, it's a forward step that the Tibbs relieving or releasing or firing is a forward step, just because I need to see some of those things. We have a ton of assets, right? We have draft pick assets, we have player assets, and we need those values to go up. And I think the only way to do that is if they play more time in the court and are being put in more positions to maximize their strengths. And I think we'll see some of that more if Tibbs goes. I don't think we're going to see more wins potentially. We could see fewer wins because really this 10-13, I think the Knicks are worse than a 10-13 team based on their stats, based on how bad their defense is, based on, they're not getting a ton of like bad shooting luck in terms of the defensively. That what you said, I think 15th in the NBA as far as like 3-point field goal percentage against,
yeah,
which means that there's not a lot of luck there. It's not like teams are shooting the lights out against them. So if they do see that happening, it could be a lot worse. So I don't think we're going to see a bunch more wins, but I do think we're going to see better things for the future of the franchise, which is what I care about, which is the same thing I've been talking about. Like, I don't care about this season, didn't care about last season. I want to see the assets that we have increase in value, and I think we'll have a potential to see that after Tibbs goes.
I'd love for you to be right, is what I'll say. I really hope you're right. And Johnny Bryant, and listen, the theme of Friday's show apparently was how right you end up being at the end of all of these things. So, like, again, I'm hoping you're right about this. The Bagley report last week told me this team is not going to pivot toward finding out the ceilings of these assets, which is my fear. And it's why I brought up the idea of a panic trade. I think wins are going to matter to this front office. Wins are going to matter to this owner. And it's why I really wonder how much of a tinker we're going to see with the overall minute distribution and whatnot. But you know what? I'm at the point where I'm curious to find out what it looks like. And maybe as a result, this head coach also convinces this team to play better defense, gets them to buy in more, and maybe even presents a scheme that fits this roster better.
Can I say a thing before we close real quick? Because it seems like you're wrapping up. So I wanted to, since we're playing Cleveland, I had this thought and I wanted to pick both of your brains.
Yeah, go ahead.
About it. I think the Cavs are really good this year. Like, I don't think this is fake. I don't think it's, temporary. I think they're legit because I think Mitchell is playing at a sustainable level, and I think they actually have upside here. And I was just thinking, to make this team an immediate title contender and maybe potentially a co-favorite with Boston potentially, what would you both think about doing a deal for the Cavs that centers on trading Evan Mobley? I think that Mobley has been really hyped, and I think that, but he hasn't played particularly well this year. He hasn't really improved a ton from last year. And he doesn't fit super well with Jarrett Allen. And I was thinking a Mobley deal that would center something around like Mobley for Pascal Siakam. I think with Pascal Siakam at the 4, this Cavs team would be a title front runner potentially with Boston. So what you guys think about that? I know it's like super random, but we're playing the Cavs tonight.
Nah,
Maybe let's just think some hypotheticals here.
Mensa.
The guy I would like for a team like Cleveland is OG Anunoby. But if you're sending out Mobley, you do need to get Siakam back.
Yeah, you can't
just you need
just do
Siakam
it
back.
for
You're not
OG.
going to get them
Yeah.
both, because if you could get both of them, yeah. But man, I don't know. I think that when you have small guards, the thing that you need most is switchable wings. And the one thing the Cleveland Cavaliers have yet to do is identify good wings. Like Dean Wade's okay. I think the book has been written on Okoro. That's not a guy you're worried about. Karis LeVert is all right, but he can barely stay healthy. And Knicks fans have an interesting relationship with Karis LeVert.
Yes, they do. Especially Knicks Film School fans have an interesting relationship with Karis LeVert.
I think wow. And I think that especially Ujiri would go for that because he's been trying to get a center on that team.
He fits perfectly there. And
that might be a win-win. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can also get some assets back for Cleveland. You can also get some assets back to replace the assets that you lost within the Mitchell deal.
Yeah, I actually really like that trade for both teams because you're talking about Mobley and Barnes. Oh man, yeah, that's really good. And you still get to hold on to Anunoby. You still have Gary Trent. You can pay Van Vliet this summer because he's coming up on a new contract. Yeah, no, I like that trade for both teams. I really do. And it takes some of the creation juice. And I think people forget how good Spicy P is.
Dude,
so yeah, no,
legit,
I like that.
Especially this year, he's been ridiculous offensively.
I'm in. I dig it. I thought you were gonna suggest something around Julius Randle, and I was like, yes, whatever you're about to suggest. Yes,
sign me up.
Yes.
You just start Julius Randle. Yes.
Yes. Where's he going? Oh, yes, absolutely.
Paper or plastic. Yes.
It's fascinating you say that about Mobley.
I don't really see. I see his ceiling. I see what he could be, but why wait? This Cleveland team is legit. This Cleveland team could be a title contender.
Mm-hmm.
And if a move like that, I think with Siakam at the 4 next to Jared Allen instead of Mobley, I think this team is going up there with Boston as far as winning the East.
You don't think as is they could compete with Boston?
I think they can compete. I think they don't have a good shot. I think
Boston
don't
have the wings.
Take them out.
Okay. And another thing is one thing Brian Windhorst always says about the Anthony Davis trade is they won a championship, so they don't have to say sorry. Like the Anthony Davis trade every year looks worse and worse, but because they won a championship, who cares?
Yeah.
So if you can trade Evan Mobley and Cleveland can win another championship, the city of Cleveland doesn't win a lot. Like they would not care.
Right.
They wouldn't care at all if that guy went out the door. So, hey, I think you do have to strike while the iron is hot. And Donovan Mitchell isn't exactly a spring chicken. That guy turns 27 next year. So, and one thing about undersized athletic guards is they don't get to play, to 33 and 34 unless you're Chris Paul or John Stockton. Literally every other undersized guard has kind of like teetered out around 29 or 30. So the clock is ticking on a guy like Donovan Mitchell. So if you can bring in Siakam and, and speed up the clock a little bit, I think you have to look into that. Absolutely.
The Cavs are not the Warriors. They cannot play on this 2 timeline trajectory where we got the young guys coming up and we got the veterans that we're trying to win with now. Like they need to go all in or, that's what I think. So I think that the deal works really well.
Good stuff. I'm sold. That was interesting thought, XJ. I appreciate that.
Now do one for the Knicks. That'll make me happy.
Yeah, yes, I can't come up with a good one for the Knicks.
That's not Tom Thibodeau for Johnny Bryant. Something else that involves the roster, an actual problem on this team. Alrighty. Thank you everybody for tuning in to the KFS pregame show. We do this an hour before tip-off of every Knicks game. My thanks to XJ and Mensa for joining me for this. If you dig them, in fact, if you don't dig them, just do us a favor and follow them on Twitter. Their handles are in the name tag that's underneath their face. You can follow me, but if you really want to help me out, like this video and subscribe to the KFS YouTube channel. It really goes a long way. It helps us get the word out. Stay tuned after this game where John will recap the Knicks the Knicks matchup against Donovan Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers, and any breaking news that follows today's game. Should be interesting. And then, of course, we'll be back with John and Jeremy tomorrow and throughout the rest of the week. Check out the KFS Twitter feed at Knicks Film School on Twitter. Chris will be doing a halftime show. I always forget to plug him. Chris Persianen, our young protege turned phenom who's like covering games for Fordham. Check him out on the KFS halftime show on the Knicks Film School Twitter feed. That'll do it for us. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Knicks Nation, enjoy the game, and let's ride.